Hey,
There it
what's
is.
going on, everyone? Good afternoon. I'm Nick Paro with my good friend Shane Yirak. We are here on Banner and Backbone for episode 13 of
13, that's a
Palantalk
lucky
today.
number.
Lucky number 13.
Yeah.
We're talking drone surveillance and the
I'm so
drone
tired of
state.
drones, man. I would love to just,
Drones.
dude, we gotta get. I swear, if we never, if we just say, you know what, as humanity, we just scrap drones, which is never gonna happen because they're so good at killing people.
Yeah.
But it would be nice. It would be nice if we could just all decide to, not do drones. Do we really need drones? I mean, do we, do we really?
Mm, we could use some drones in some areas, like
Yeah,
farming drones might be cool. If you want to get rid of
yeah,
farm hands, like if people are so mad about immigration and all this fake outrage, like then invest in drones for farms, invest in
right.
farm production technology that would make the world a better place, but instead we like killing things in this world, and nobody learned from Terminator what not to do. They learned
Great
what to
movie.
do. The great movies. Go watch them. It's hard to watch them right now because you're going to
I
see the
know.
parallels about what the fuck is about to happen when Skynet
Yeah.
comes online, or ThealNet, I guess, might be the more destructive
Teal
modern day
net.
version. TealNet would be fucking terrible. Um, but yeah, welcome to TealNet and
Oh,
the drone state.
I'm trying to
Um,
find our live. Am I on the? Did I accept the
you
invite?
are on the live, yeah.
I am.
It's
Okay.
in the check our chat here. I sent it to
Okay.
you.
That's weird. It's not showing up on my Substack.
Weird. I'm gonna blast it out to
Uh,
everybody in our chats
cool, cool.
anyway, because why not? We're
Substack
live, y'all. It's
days.
Palantalk, and this is what we do: is we talk about drones and technology and the intersection of fascism. Here, as
Yup.
we say, is tech, no
Techno
fascism.
fascism.
Tech,
Techno.
techno fascism, but what we want is tech, no fascism.
Tech.
Uh,
No fascism. That's right. I like that. Tech.
That's
No
our
fascism.
tagline underneath, brother. That's why I
I'm
got
with
it
it.
there. Is we
Yes.
want
Oh
no
yeah. Yeah.
fascism.
Yeah.
And so today we're gonna have some really cool articles to discuss as people come rolling on in. Welcome on Substack, welcome on YouTube, welcome on Twitch, whichever platform you are joining us with. Um, is Palantalk episode 13, drone surveillance. We're going to talk Shane Yurik's articles today. Shane
Oh,
has a couple really, really high quality articles on one. Shane has a lot of really high quality articles, so fucking go follow Shane Yurik. If you have not already subscribed and you are on Substack, hit the Chiron at the top. Go follow Shane Yurik. And join in the discussion with him because he covers this intersection of techno fascism really thoroughly and really well. So I wanted to get two of his articles going, and then I'm going to blast out our live to everyone and shut up here for a little bit and let
well, no, no,
Shane
no.
talk.
I like your voice. Don't you don't need to shut up.
Yeah, but I like your voice too, brother. You got a good voice. You know what you're talking about.
I
And
know
so I
some
want
of
to
it.
give you some time. Um, you you drink and know things. You're like
That's right. I'm
Tyrion,
Tyrion Lannister.
just without um, the rape.
Dwarf, the
Like
dwarfism.
no, well, I've never met you, so I don't actually know how tall you are.
That's
But
valid.
you could be. Um, like the thing about like being on a screen like this is you don't actually know how tall people are until you meet them.
True.
Like I could be deceptively tall or
Yeah.
deceptively short. I'm neither. I'm average American height. Um, but greetings, everyone, as we get things rolling. Shane, I'm going to
Hello.
move it over to your first article, which is Palantir's moving to take control of America's military drone army, the United States National Drone Association, and Doge. Um, and so I'm going to drop the link in our chats for all subscribers and on all platforms.
For sure.
And I'll hand it over to you, brother.
Right on. So this article, it's one of those things where I think we have a there's a lot of things right now, in particular, that we just are not really seeing covered, I think, on the scale that uh, they should be. Uh, and I don't necessarily know why. I wish I had a good reason for you as to why these things don't see the coverage I think they warrant. I don't. So what I can say is that where where I've noticed and where I've spent a lot of my time is looking at connections, because one of the things that you'll see out of my content more so than other creators is um I do a lot of I might post more sparingly in terms of my articles than I used to, but I certainly have transitioned um from a situation where my priorities are more based on trying to get out as much, give you more of a critique, to getting to the core. Because I think what our issue is, and I saw that, Arturo Dominguez, he posted a phenomenal note the other day in regards to the lack of context in regards to the news. You can get information, and that's great, but without context, information is just that. It's words on a screen. And what's most important, I think, right now, is to provide context, because there are the amount of interlocking elements going on right now it's genuinely overwhelming in terms of, like, how all these pieces fit together. And that goes for Epstein too, but I think especially that the problem largely with Epstein is not that there's these people don't deserve to be brought to justice. It's that so many things are happening in the background right now, quietly, in the realms that have been intentionally obscured, um, by through finance, through mergers, through contracts, and that same thing is happening, unfortunately, in the Pentagon, and it's been happening quietly for months. But drones are not only something that, that's not just your DJI, right? Like I say in this article, that drones are now responsible for 70 to 80% of the casualties on the front line in Ukraine. FPV drones. The world has shifted in terms of combat. You're going to see, for primarily, the goal is to not have people fighting really people. And what's interesting is, if you look at the combat footage and things like that I do in Ukraine, it's the buzzing overhead that these guys are nervous about. It's, you see very sparingly, you see Ukrainian troops out there for an abundance of reasons. But what we've really seen in Ukraine that's been highlighted is that drones are fiscally much cheaper. If you send a soldier out, and Nick knows, I'm sure you know this too, it's like your actual infantryman has money on them, right? Every single part of that
Yeah.
is expensive. Whereas the drone itself is actually less expensive than not only the money that goes into training, your infantrymen, or, your artillerymen or anything like that, but the actual equipment they wear is expensive. It's more than $1,000, much more than $1,000 to kit out, an infantryman. And on top of
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
the actual amount of money it costs to train them, and the value of that individual is far in excess of a one-time use drone that can trade $1,000 for a person that has to be replaced, retrained. The amount of time.
So, one thing that we do need to make sure we consider when we talk about this, though, is the overall lifespan that a single soldier might use per drone too. Is like
Mhm.
it's not just a single drone that they'll pilot. How many drones will that soldier pilot? Are they
Mhm.
kamikaze drones? Are they different types of drones that are meant to be reused? And that's very different. And also, as we start getting into your article more too on like the different uses and technologies behind this, is how to say the Perdix drone swarm project and technologies like swarm technologies allow for, say, a Apache pilot to drop a small drone while they're flying,
Yeah.
use that drone to target and point laser guided missile systems and then shoot on a target they can't see. That's
Yep.
part of drone swarm technology.
Right.
Like, that's a valuable piece of technology because
Yeah.
it does reduce the risk for service members very, very much. And that is a good thing. Like, I don't want service members
Yes.
to die. That
Yeah.
said, the lesson in history and the lesson in science fiction too is, as you dehumanize war and
Mhm.
profitize it with drones and non-human technology, it becomes easier to conduct war because then you're less likely to kill mass people. You're killing smaller people soldier wise, but you tend to kill a much larger civilian base with drones and things like that. So it's a very big trade off on how war is viewed and like who the specific casualty or targets of that war might be.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think the other thing to really consider, on top of literally everything you just listed, is that there's a difference between an infantryman who took an oath, who has values, and has the ability to question orders,
yes.
than a autonomous machine that is programmed, usually with, at this point we're looking at AI, that's the goal, to
Hmm.
basically follow a directive. Okay, so it entirely removes the moral boundary, which is essential if you're looking for minority rule. And as we go through this, that's one of the things I want you to consider. Is one of the key components for minority rule would be the ability to conduct war and suppression on a large scale while minimizing the amount of people you have in the inner circle. So as we kind of go through, the history of drones, they go back a while. And if you go to like the mid to, the 2010s, 2017, you're starting to see some earlier programs, like the drone swarms and the integration pilot program. These things are less. They're, in a lot of ways, they're actually kind of outdated now because
Yeah.
technology has zoomed past them. The application for drones has been changed by Ukraine. The where the money is going has moved entirely, and a lot of these projects themselves tend to are more based by your traditional defense contractors, which is not something that we're going to see here. Is not something that is in focus anymore. In fact, it's contrary to the objectives of what we're seeing. So where the story really starts, and where I think I want to start, is I want to talk about the 2023 replicator program. So this was a Biden initiative. It's the United States military. They
Is
looked
that
at,
further down in the article?
huh?
Just for That's further down here in the article.
Oh, it's right there. Nope, you're right there. 2023. You got it.
Oh, there it is. Let me
Um,
expand the screen so it can
yeah.
be we can read
So
the
the
whole paragraph.
replicator program, in response to, at 2023, you're seeing massive, influx of drones. This is when the war really started to change in Ukraine. So in 2023, so you see the Pentagon. Um, they start, actually, what's unique about this is traditionally the Pentagon will privately contract like research. That's interesting. They don't usually own their own stuff. Unfortunately, it's like, it's kind of but it's unusual at this point for the Pentagon to solely own its own research. They've really been privatized in a lot of ways. That's what's interesting about the replicator program, is this was internal research owned and done by the Pentagon. And the goal was to get, by 2025, have advanced knowledge and uh, capacity for drones in August of 2025. They missed that deadline. However, I'm certain that they did a lot of research to get to this point. Where things start to get iffy here, and where I think we start to see the concerning, all of these things is like, Shane, why the hell are you talking about this? Like, why does it matter? Well, because the person that we do talk about a lot here is Peter Thiel. But
Yeah.
specifically, what set me down this road was I was doing research for the Firebrand Report, and I saw an article about Doge going into the Pentagon to streamline drone acquisition. So we know what Doge did under Elon. We know that Doge under Elon, their job was to go and steal all of our private data and to take all of these individual databases, the decentralized data, aggregate it, and provide it to Thiel and Palantir for their Foundry software and all of their stuff for mass surveillance of Americans. So Doge has been generally pretty quiet since. The other thing about Doge we need to really consider is that Doge was probably the most central conception of Peter Thiel. It's his vehicle. And he was very involved in its conception because it is the vehicle for him to get sensitive government data and to get that back to him. So when Doge goes into the Pentagon, we have to ask the question, what does Thiel want in the Pentagon? What is going on? Well, immediately I started looking into this because I know that's how he works, right? And we'll kind of talk a little bit about his process here later. But the big thing here is we see Doge go in, and the first thing they do is they go for the replicator program. Owen West, who is the leader of Doge within the Pentagon, a former SOCOM operative leader in our special forces in the Pentagon, in that sphere, he went into, and what did he start to request? He started to ask for specifications, weight limits, design, all of these things that would have been sensitive research owned by the Pentagon. Just to be clear, this is our drone research. Okay. If it's owned by the Pentagon, it's taxpayer. We did this research. It's traditional R&D. So it's not, this is not something that these private commercial companies would have access to. However, if you're a commercial company and you want to sell drones to the military, you want the designs that they've been developing. So clearly what we see here is Owen West, he comes in, gets into Doge, and he steals that information, which has certainly been passed on to this group we're going to talk about later, which is a company where the goal is to vertically integrate a commercial pipeline, whereas a Thiel group, which we'll name later, has total control over the monopsony. We've used the term before. It's a monopsony of the United States military drone industrial complex from top to bottom.
For anyone who doesn't remember what a monopsony is, that is, you control both the means of production and the means of distribution, which would be you own everything, and or pretty much a social market system.
Basically, it's like you're the producer and the buyer. You've got it all, right? So like
we've talked about it in our chats on socialism too.
Yeah.
Like it's social. It's a social market scheme where the government controls everything through private interests, which have become the government.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
So where do we go? So now, all of this said, we want to look at. There's a way they do this. Like there's a strategy to this. And if you want to create a monopsony, you need to do a couple things. I outline this here because this is also a tool. And I want to stress this as an individual researcher. If you question something, if you look at a market and you're like, I don't know what's up with that. Like, that seems weird. Take these 5 steps and these 4 things I touch on and direct your research around all of these steps. And I promise you, it will become very clear very quickly who the players are. But the first is policy generation. Okay, so policy generation is this idea that you need someone to provide a template, some sort of policy that will go ahead and be the framework for implementing your strategy. In this case, the creation of a monopsony. The advocacy and validation. This is individuals within the system you're trying to control. What they're going to do is they're going to lobby for you. They are going to basically be the promoters, if you will, of what you're trying to do. You move to implementation and execution. This is where you actually see your policy or your business. If you're talking about a private business, not like the government, like you see the board make changes or policy within the company changes, right? And execution, right? So how things are done. Of course, all of these things are for commercial benefit. So once you see the the implementation, you want to look to see where's the money going. And then once you reach the end of the loop, you go ahead and you reinforce it. You close it with more policy. You lock yourself in, which can be further simplified into 4 phases, okay, which I do here as well. It's your influence, your control, your enrichment, and your insulation. Okay, so your influence, that's your private policy generation and your advocacy validation. Your control is implementation and execution. Your enrichment is commercial benefit. And of course, your insulation is that reinforcement. So what do we need to do? We need to start looking at this system. We see that the loop itself, what they want, we know what the goal is. We know they want to commercialize the Pentagon entirely. They want to shift it away from defense contractors, which is in a sense a trust, but it's not, because there is limited, and I have to stress this, very limited competition between these guys. But they each kind of get their own part of the military. I feel like that's kind of how it's like set up, is like some get the Air Force, some get the Navy, but there's not that many. But the difference here is where do we see this group and what's their objective? So once we know that this is their plan, we need to find out how they influence and do this. So the first thing I want to look at in this situation was, where's the influence coming from? And we know it's Owen West, but there's actually something further than that. And it's where you start to see the recent creation of the US NDA. Think of this as the NRA for drones. It's a private board with a bunch of different companies and private interests. They lobby, they advocate, they come together. Well, the thing about the US NDA is every single company, every single individual can be traced back to a Thiel Fellowship or a Founders Fund company. Okay, so every single player on this board, every single aspect of this drone industry you see here can be linked to Thiel's money. Money, money, money. It's all about money. Here's the other thing that honestly concerns me more than that, is that there is a influence. How do you get into the Pentagon? There is a large group, and it seems like a circle of former SOCOM leaders, Special Operations Command, and former Marines. These are servicemen, former servicemen that have integrated with Thiel and his group. And they are essentially operating as a influence machine within the Pentagon. Owen West also leadership. And the co-author of an article that we'll see here just in a minute was also former Pentagon. All these guys are special ops. These are the highest, the best of the best in the military, and they're actively betraying our country. And I mean, literally, this is treason by any definition. If you are doing, I feel like this is treason. And I don't know if you'd agree, Nick, but I mean, it seems to me that these guys are enemies of the state. The private, though, Peter Thiel is an enemy of the state.
I would, yes, I would. I'm going to choose my words judiciously here. I think Peter Thiel is doing some incredibly damaging things that can easily be, or probably linked to treason. Because we don't know where the money is coming from or going to in the end. We don't know where any of the data that he is collecting is going to and coming from. He has violated a ton of laws.
He's a criminal, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like he's violated tons and tons of laws around data aggregation, data privacy, and data compartmentalization in the United States, and why we keep data segregated from one another, because it's a small subset system for a reason, so that if, say, somebody hacks one database, they don't get all of the records of every American. Now they're all in one place,
Right.
and that's illegal. Like that is illegal. That was not congressionally mandated or allowed to happen. Um, and so, yeah, I think they have done things that could lead to charges of treason. Um, and I think um, we should absolutely work towards seeing if we can convict on treason. Um, Easiest way, Shane, is actually tilt your flag. Just, I know it'll take up different amount of space, but have it like mine is,
Mm.
where it's over your right shoulder. Then you don't have to worry, and then you can mirror your camera and figure it out. Um, Having it horizontal is harder, because then you have to figure out which shoulder it's supposed to be on, which way, and mirror yourself properly. It's a pain in the butt.
It is. It is.
But anyway,
Tracking everyone.
we like. I think there's a lot that could easily be looked into and should be looked into. And I said it earlier, is I think this regime needs to accountability, is everyone who has participated in certain things, specifically the Epstein files, which Peter Thiel is a part of. So yes, Peter Thiel has committed treason, in my eyes, because he has taken money and influence through the blackmailing scheme and pedophilia ring that was run by Jeffrey Epstein, or through Jeffrey Epstein, and links money, and could possibly link money from foreign influence that are
Well, I
against
can act later.
American interests.
I
So
can.
yeah.
I can affirm that there is foreign money involved, and in the next article we'll talk about there is foreign money. So
So
I
then probably
100%.
yes, I if there's foreign money coming in, and he is basically stealing Defense Department secrets, and um, getting privy to access, because the Defense Department is not allowed to. Um, they're not supposed to, anyways, weigh certain companies over the other if they're in the defense industry also, and like promote certain companies. And if they're going to give out a company secret like that, it's normally declassified for everyone to
Right.
to have access to at the same time. um, unless that company is very, very embedded into DoD history, like Boston Dynamics, or um, Northrop Grumman and Boeing,
Yeah.
and companies like that have been building military tech since World War II and World War One. Like, those
And
are
that's the
harder to
distinction,
discern.
right?
Um,
The defense contractor versus what they're advocating for. So that's
yeah,
another distinction that we'll touch
the
on.
real thing is, if we could get lobbying out of all of this, and criminalized, legalized corruption, and money, like influence campaigns like this, corporate interests would be much less valuable to the government, and the government might actually function to promote services. Like, the DoD is supposed to be a service,
Correct.
not a money laundering scheme.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to
Right?
the article.
Yeah, no, for sure. So in March 2025, we start to see the first steps, okay?
Mhm.
And I just like one of the things you're going to see here is how quickly this happened. It's very scary how quickly this happened. But you see them publish something called Glimmers of a Drone Solution. It's basically, a manifesto, if you will, and you have Owen West, who is now in charge of Doge in the Pentagon, with Nathan Esselbarger, who is the president and board chairman of the USNDA, so the representative of all of these teal companies. They wrote this article, and they argue for commercialization of drones. They're saying that the commercial drones are a better solution to the drone problem in the United States than the defense contractors, right? They're saying it's too slow. They're saying it's ineffective. They're saying that you need to commercialize this to get the best of the best, which is the argument they've always made about more and more commercialization is they want that private does it better. They're faster. They're more incentivized, whatever. That's bullshit. We know it's bullshit and we know it's about money. But, so what we see is after this, it's also Owen West who is co-authoring all of the statements coming out from Hegseth within the Pentagon about drones, setting the new initiatives, et cetera. So that's one of the things we see here is West is very, very deeply tied to what's going on here within Doge. So when we say the mechanism, okay, when we're looking at how they do it, it's going to be Doge. So you have your influence, which is going to be coming from the USNDA and the special operator leadership within the Pentagon. And Doge is the vehicle for the actual policy. Okay. That's how they're going to get things done. That's how they're going to streamline these contracts. That's how they're going to move the money, right? Because they need to choose who's buying. To set up this closed loop. Because the other thing about this is it does appear as if none of these companies are connected. It is only through Thiel's actual background, through their founding and their personal loyalties to that group, the technoligarchy, right? The Thiel cult, if you will. And essentially what they're coming in here, and you have the manifest, the memo that I link in this article that's basically saying we're going to order all these drones now. We're going to get all these things. I believe the number is like 1 million drones by sometime in 2026. So it's like absurd. And they want like 30,000 by the end of the year. Okay. So
before we go on any further too, one of the things that like people need to really understand about all of this is yes, before war, contractors in the US tend to try and spin up and get as much like money and they want to promote war because it makes them money.
Yeah.
Drone tech is new mass produced tech in the US. Like it's not something that we do on the level and scale as a lot of other countries do, say China or even Ukraine. Like Ukraine does a mass drone productions setup that we don't have in the US. And for war, that's really good. But for a president and a regime that promised during the run to stop wars, this is not how you do it. You don't stop war by building all the tech to go and fight the new next war right away, right now. Like you use all of that soft power that we got rid of with USAID and other things because that's weak power to these people. That's actually how you change the world, is by giving people life and providing them the basic necessities rather than destroying them and exploiting them to like attack Venezuela so that we can get rare earth minerals to create more drones and oil to produce the things that we need for more drones, because that's all it's about, is taking the rare earth minerals and all of that stuff. But we'll probably get into a lot of that here more. I'm just this is preparation for war. Like these people are warmongers. They want to start a war. They want to go to a war. They are preparing us into a war. They're wagging the dog, as one would say, at Venezuela, just so that they can build drone tech and take over, because then that gives them additional powers in the United States with their lovely contract for Palantir and ICE to be able to create the drone state that they want and drone surveillance system in the US that they want. So the continuation of this is, like Shane said, the final step is more policy, and that's what they're getting right now. Donald Trump promised these people, if you buy me this election, I will give you whatever the fuck you want. Whatever you want. He told us what he was going to do, and that's what he's doing. That's why they tried to slip into the big beautiful bill no AI regulation on the state level for 10 years. Mm-hmm. That's why the executive order that came out after they couldn't get it in basically put it into place, because they couldn't get it through Congress. So Donald Trump said, I'm king now and I'm going to put it in. I got the tiniest ideas and I'm just going to push it right through. Nothing as big as Arnold. Mr. Palmer had the biggest manhood you could possibly imagine. Mine is just really tiny.
Tiny. It's tiny. That's why he's got to blow a horse.
Yeah. So, real question, real talk: is Bubba Bill Clinton or Ghislaine Maxwell's horse?
I think it's.
And I'll celebrate if it's either one of those options because they're fucking ridiculous.
I think it's the horse.
If there's a video of Donald Trump blowing a horse, I would love to have that blasted on the internet.
It's going everywhere.
I would, like, gross as shit. Disgusting. Bestiality is disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Fucking gross. And I hope that if there's a video of Donald Trump blowing a horse, someone has the audacity to leak
Anonymous.
it. Anonymously leak it. Like someone in the US government right now. It is your duty and oath.
That's how you talk to the government. Right there.
This is how you stop the enemy from within. Is you release the horse
files.
Release the Bubba file.
The Bubba files. I want the Bubba files.
I want the Bubba files.
Yes.
Release the Bubba files. Anyways, back to drones because that's even scarier than Donald Trump blowing a horse.
Yeah, like, which is crazy because that's
crazy.
Yeah.
Could it be an elephant instead? Because that would be really on the nose if it was Bubba the elephant, and now he's the leader of the GOP with the elephant. Just a big old elephant in the room, Donald fucking Trump.
That's right. Man, he okay, I gotta stop myself.
Anyway, before we go on a tangent too far and get fucking kicked off of all of the platforms.
Yeah, okay. You see in these memos, basically, one of the interesting things is you see allowing 06. So you're allowing lower level officers within the Pentagon to use their budget to acquire more drones, which just gives them more leverage. They can sell to more people. They don't have to go up the chain as much. They're putting in mandates like everyone will need to have drones in 2026. Some of these things, without me going too deep, it's fine. I think every squad in modern war should have at least several FPV drones.
Absolutely.
Surveillance, for being able to engage enemies at distance. They should also be mandated to have EW equipment. If you're going to deploy them anywhere, they need to have electric war EW, like jammers and stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. And before you go on, super important point you just made, Shane. It is important for our service members and our troops to be properly prepared in case of a war. But you don't need to go and make mass production so that you can then start a war, which is what they want. There's a difference between policy for defense and policy for war. There's a reason they rename themselves the Department of War, is because they want a war. That's why they want more of these drones out there in mass production as quickly as possible, also so that they can consolidate power as quickly as possible when they have the opportunity, because if they don't do it now, they're never going to get the chance again, because we know what their end game is, and a lot of people are like, no, fuck you. There are two foreigners taking over the jobs in our country that people should be afraid of, and it is not the people who are working in the fields. It is Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. Those are the only two foreign-born people that I really, and like maybe one or two others that I really care about, like that are destroying our country.
And they're white.
But that's not xenophobia. That's just, these are two assholes who have way too much fucking money and are ruining our country, are ruining England, are ruining Canada, are ruining all of our partners, have ruined Israel in a lot of ways and exploited Israel and have destroyed and decimated Gaza to get this technology to where it is. So we have to remember the cost that comes behind the tech too. Is Palantir has helped cause a genocide, and they need to be held account for that too, as a company and as individuals.
I'm gonna go a little faster here. Just
yeah.
I want to get through
because we're going through at a slow rate. which is fine. We like to go in deep.
Yes. So, and also
Unlike Donald Trump.
go read both of these articles. Okay. Like I'm not going to touch on everything, and I really lay it out. Like I leave nothing to chance. I want everyone to understand how fucking criminal and how real this is. Like, this is not some objective. This is not me on a conspiracy theory. This is literally, you can point to the people, they're there. So you have the USNDA. Okay. I touch on them a little bit. Basically, these guys are a special operations group of people who are on a board that are also associated with Peter Thiel, who basically their community left, went to this private Thiel group, and now they have the NRA of drones. Okay. So they lobby, and they have the ability to lobby people they know in the Pentagon. They have significant influence. And if you look at these guys, they're attached to the special operations branches of the military. And like I said, Owen West and Eckelbarger are also attached to the Pentagon. Okay. So, you have a couple of these companies, and I'm not gonna touch on all of them. Like, go read the article. But basically, you have different companies that are targeting different aspects of the industry. Okay. So within this, you have different Teal associated companies that touch on the AI, the API, the programming, the manufacturing, and all the way down to basically all of it. Okay. So they've got A through Z. They've got a company for it that they have developed. Okay. So what I state in this first article is that influence and control have been established. Okay. They have the influence with the SOCOM Brain Trust, which is what I call it. The SOCOM Brain Trust is all of these individuals who are with the special operations, have those connections. And you also have the control with Owen West having gone in to basically delegate and streamline, which is his job, streamline all of these contracts, right? Get more drones faster. At the point in which I wrote this article, they had yet to hand out really all of the contracts. What they were doing is they had scheduled this thing called the Drone Crucible, which was like an expo where they invite all of these different military groups to come and check out their stuff. Well, all of these groups happened to be the ones that were directly associated with their SOCOM Brain Trust. So they had guaranteed clients ready to go. So at the point of enrichment, you have Palantir and Anduril. These are the AIPs and the AI that's going to pilot all of these things, right? So a really important part of this is they want to own how the drone works. They want to own the software. They want to own how they give directives, all of these things, right? So they're basically leasing a drone to the United States military, but they also have pretty much full control over how those drones work, whether they want to just put a kill switch in there, turn them off. You have no idea what they're doing. Brink, which is a company that was founded by a fellow. They build tactical drones, and Andrew Cote, who is a key player here, he's on the board, on the USNDA board, but he's also in this company, which means there's a conflict of interest, right? This group is lobbying the military. He actively works for one of the companies they're trying to get on here. Scale AI, that's, the data foundry. That's how they're going to be able to, put all these things together, aggregate them. And Hadrian is a founders fund company that does all of the manufacturing. It's automated manufacturing. So that's how they really control the means of production, right? They control all of the intellectual stuff, all the programming, all the way down to the means of production. And again, automated. I want to point out here that they don't have to worry about a strike if it's all automated. They don't have to worry about anything because they have so few people involved in the decision-making process here that there's not really a lot of, different people to resist, right? Like, there's not any room for someone to come in and ungrease the wheels or pull a cog out. Like, they got it all together. Okay. And then the last part I talk about is enrichment, but insulation as well. So you have locking out the competition. Well, if you control who's actually giving the contracts, who can award these things, you're able to lock out the competition. and you have all these companies on the board. The same people hosting the drone crucible are also the people who work on the USNDA, are the same people who are talking to the people in the Pentagon, have active relationships. And then you get what I call basically a strategic monopoly or a monopsony, as well, which is where they control everything, right? So they control who's buying, they control who's producing. And there's a lot of stuff I go on here. I lay it out a lot more thoroughly. Go and read the article. But what I do want to do is I want to touch on my update, because effectively, they did it. They have succeeded. It's not theoretical anymore. It has been accomplished. So everything that I lay out in this first article, they have actively accomplished. So this morning, I caught this last week on Friday. I saw, when I was doing my research, there was an article that came out where the Secretary of the Army made an announcement, basically calling out the defense contractors and saying that they were going to move towards commercial, which is a big deal, because now we know how far that influence has gone. We're talking about the Secretary of the Army, like how far up the pipeline they have gone here. So, as far as this article in the beginning, I reiterate effectively kind of a lot of the things we talked about before, just in a shorter means here. But then I also touch on the drone crucible, because it's already happened once. And I mentioned that a lot of the people who came can be directly associated with the SOCOM Brain Trust. But clearly, like I said, the announcement came out from Secretary of the Army, where now that influence has gone farther up the chain. I would not be surprised if you see leadership in the Marines, leadership in the Navy, doing this as well very soon, because it seems like the Army is what's gone the fastest thus far.
Well, he's also an Army guy, and the Army has been using Palantir more directly in tools like this for a lot longer,
Yeah.
because they were pretty much field tested during Iraq and Afghanistan.
Which was
Um,
primarily the Army.
yeah, and which is primarily the Army's responsibility. So it makes sense that the Army tends to be first with a lot of these technologies, and then the Marines do it better because they take what the Army did and they just make it better, because they're able to. And the Army is just like, well, we got what we needed, so we're done making it. Um, Fastest solution, easiest way to get there and then stop. Is the Army way typically, but they're pushing it forward now in some areas that make a lot of people uncomfortable. Like, I know people who are directly uncomfortable with the types of technologies that are being pushed, that are much more conservative in their viewpoints than I am. And I'm specifically saying conservative over regressive in their viewpoints for a reason. Because I think regressive defines something very different than conservative. But who knows like military tech very, very closely. And this person fears, just as I fear, that removing the pilot is the next step in all of this.
Correct.
Just like you're saying, removing the pilot. And that's where things become bad.
I
You
can tell you,
have to have a human behind every trigger, including drones, like non-autonomous drones. Like the thing with, like, let's say Apaches, where they have swarm drones that come out. Those are for targeting. Those are still, the human at the end is the one who has to pull the trigger. That's what they want to get rid of. They want to get rid of the final cost of war that actually leaves it humane and says there's a stopping point that we won't go by. Fully autonomous war is bad, is really, really, really bad. And even all of our sci-fi writers and authors knew that and told us about that. Every single sci-fi author, every single futurist who has ever written about things like that has always said fully autonomous things will kill humanity, because it loses the point where it says we've gone too far. So this is humans going too far.
Yeah, like everything you just described, just to be clear, that's what this is, right? So like it's because that's what Palantir is working on actively. That is what, and Anduril, to your point, which is one of the companies within the sphere.
God, I hate their derivative names.
I
Like they
know.
took over such a great lore and they're like, we're gonna make this ours. No, shut the fuck up. You don't
Well, they just
you
tested
guys
their
suck.
first fighter jet, like straight up. I watched it take off. Like I
Fully
watched,
autonomous fighter jet.
correct. I watched it take off a runway. So they can strap a surface to air missile, surface to ground missile on that thing, and they can fly it around. They can drop a bomb. So just to be clear, the technology is real. Okay, I literally watched them beta test it.
Mhm.
It like was a couple days ago. I saw the video. Okay, this is not I think who makes the Blackhawks? They released their own autonomous Blackhawk. Like it literally like this is the tech is like actively there. That's the competitive market we're in. That's what that's what the Pentagon wants to buy. And the argument that, I mean, it was crazy. To see
Yeah.
the jet take off like that. It was harrowing to see because like we know who owns this stuff. An interesting note here is I mentioned Kote, who was one of the guys on the board. He was also had on Brink. Well, Brink started getting contracts, and he resigned from Brink and went to work at full time at the USNDA. Okay, so there's your revolving door. You see him lobby, and once his company is selected, he exits and goes. So you do see like the straight, like it's not even, they're not even hiding it. And that's one of the things that's kind of crazy to me, is how it gets missed because they don't hide it. Like I just want to be clear, all of my research is done with a deep research function where I scrape the shit out of the internet for very specific things, and it grabs all of it for me, and I have hyperlinks, and I can go and check these. This is not like that, like something that is speculative. This is all documented. Okay, so
Mhm.
anyone at any one of these media industries, or legacy, or other, could get this information. This is not something that is like, I don't have an inside source at the Pentagon. I don't need one to
Mhm.
lay all this out for you. Um, what you do see at this point, and I lay this out in the article as well, is that I kind of tell you exactly where all of the different things are handed out. Okay, and I mentioned Anduril. Well, they are the AI warfare platform. That's their job, is they do AI warfare, and then I say that here. And those are both Teal companies. So the company testing the autonomous fighter jet is the very same direct Teal link with Palantir. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, they've gotten contracts. Okay. As of September, $159 million contract with the Army. It's a soldier born command, and Anduril is involved as well. You have a Lattice platform, so you can see these things they're actively developing. And I see on the screen as well, I was referencing Dan Driscoll on November 17th. That's what spurred me to go back into this, because I had
Mhm.
written about it 2 weeks ago and I saw that announcement. That's what spurred me to go back into it. That's what caused me to actually talk about it on my Friday episode of the Firebrand Report, as well as consolidate all of those things and put it in this brief that I put out this morning. You see other things as well. You see IV Sting, which is an exercise. It's actually where they're using an Andro Palantir system for live fire. So it's not conceptual at all. It's like 100% happening. Obviously, all of these things need AI as a background. Again, August, $99 million to the Army. Again, it's no surprise that it's Driscoll who is saying these things. If you look at the money, it's clearly the Army. Like Nick said, they're the first person you want to convince to roll all this out, because everyone will follow. Well, you see the money as well. You see another 100 million from the Pentagon as well in September. The manufacturing base is Hadrian and Anduril, again, AI, both founders fund companies. That's how they're going to make all these drones. Anduril AI and Hadrian autonomous manufacturing tech. And this is where I mentioned foreign money. They would need more money to back all this. Well, they just got 200 million from the United Arab Emirates. There's your money. Okay, there's your more money. And I want to mention the king of the UAE, MBS, okay, Mohammed bin
Salman.
Suleiman, he's visiting tomorrow. He's visiting the White House. So
yeah,
I announced my series on Kushner, and I cannot even begin to. I need to hammer this: is that the UAE is funding the decline of America. The UAE is funding a concerted effort to destroy the Fed. They are going to. They are imminently, unless action is taken, they are imminently going to destroy the Fed. Like, that's the plan. And I figured out how they're going to do it, and I'll write about it. But they have a strategy. They're implementing it actively. They've already found the weak point. It's called the SRF, and it's effectively they call it a fire hose, basically, but it's able to inject overnight capital if they need to, if there's a run on the banks. Well, the limit itself, if they hit it, it collapses. And if basically what's probably going to happen, without going into it too much, is they're going to exploit this to make the Fed irrelevant and replace the mode SWIFT international transfers, how money is transferred, with a privatized means, basically making the government, the Fed, a less reliable source for moving money internationally. And there's BlackRock linked to this. JP Morgan is in there. So all of these things are connected. And well so UAE, right? So again, that the UAE is everywhere. It's not just here. It's every single. They just bought EA for $55 billion. The gaming company, $55 billion. They bought AI. Like it's facilitated by Jared Kushner. This is all very, very connected. And it's one of the things that you'll find. It's one of the reasons.
Also,
go ahead.
Also, in this, one of the things to note is defense contracting companies used to be very regulated in terms of who could purchase their stuff, and how third parties, specifically other governments, could purchase this type of materials. And typically we would sell things through government resale, military technology resale, and not through private resale. That way, private companies were not incentivized by other nations to purchase stuff directly through them and avoid the military's regulatory body that actually says, yes, you can have, or no, you cannot have these technologies, which then have a lot of post regulations on how transfer of equipment and maintenance of equipment is handled, and who can train people on those technologies and things like that, compared to just buying it directly from the source. They don't need the military. They don't need the US to be the dominant force. So this allows, like Shane says, a lot of destruction in the US, but it also puts a vested interest from another nation into our military. Like, it's saying the UAE is funding our military's technology and could have access to systems that we have access to, and they could have backdoor access into our systems if they are willing to give enough money to the private person and not the government, because the government is made up of regulatory bodies and they get to decide, is this right or not? Whereas a private citizen, Peter Thiel, will say, yeah, I like this. I want this much money from this person, so I'll sell them that data. There's a reason governments exist, and it's to prevent market installation like this, and to prevent foreign nations from purchasing the creation and utility of military technology directly from the sources.
Yeah.
So this is going around like pretty much all U.S. history of military weapons purchasing and sales. Not supposed to go from a private to another country. It's supposed to go private to our country to another country. So they're trying to get rid of the government step,
Yeah.
or make it so that it only enriches certain people that they want now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what this article is about. And at the end of this article, you will see I have a comprehensive timeline. I lay out the players here as well, kind of what they do.
And I'm just going to scroll
Yeah.
through it so it's on the screen and visible for anyone who wants to
Yeah, you can read it,
replay
and then there's a whole
and see
timeline at
it.
the
But
bottom.
definitely,
And I'll give both of these articles to Nick, so they'll be linked in the show notes and all that jazz. So yeah, that's one of the things I think that I like I said, I just don't understand how people don't cover this, man. I don't get it. It just blows my mind because, like you said, the implications of a taking the pilot away, just removing the human, and that just being like, like even if you read the article that sent me here, okay, like that sent me to check again, it didn't say that all of any of this was happening. Just said that they wanted to commercialize shit.
yeah.
What the fuck? Like,
Yeah. And there's so much in here. Shane is very detailed. For anyone who has not met Shane Yirak before, Shane Yirak of the Firebrand Project and good friend of mine here at Banner and Backbone, and just in general, is really detailed, really thorough. Someone was asking earlier, like, what sources do you have? Well, here's all of the sources that Shane has found. Transparency is key. Transparency is what wins us this battle of like private citizens owning our military and the tech takeover that they want to have. I know we're into our space time just
that's
a little
okay.
bit,
That's
but
okay.
like you have to take the opportunity to read thoroughly through what Shane has. Listen if you can in some areas, like you can always listen to audio of some of his readings if you don't have time to just sit down and read it. But you can look at the detail he's put in, the sources he's covering, the amount of information, upcoming events that are happening, and he lays it out a lot. The daunting issue is they want to take away the human factor in war. That is the one thing that we have all in our history agreed that needs to stay in war is the human factor, because otherwise you can just kill people indiscriminately and get away with it,
Which is what they want to do. Just to be clear,
which is what
like
they want to do.
if you're going to control all of these things, right? If you're going to control all these people, like I said in the beginning, minority rule is entirely dependent on force, but it's also dependent on keeping your circle of control small. This is how they do it. Okay,
Yeah.
like they fire all the Navy pilots because they don't need them, because they have Anduril autonomous fighter jets now, and you know what? LA's acting up. Bomb them. The pilot would say, "Fuck no! I took an oath. I'm not going to bomb LA." The Anduril jet's not going to say no. Like
Yeah.
they don't need to worry about dropping munitions on people in the military. That's why they can't really do the things they want to do right now, because the people won't go for it. Like there's a barrier, which is the moral conscience of the American soldier and the oath they take. If they can remove that, which is what they're doing rapidly. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, look at the timeline I lay out here. This is within a year they've managed to get this far. So we also need to consider what the timeline looks going forward. And that's why I can't conceive of why legacy media, or even like I struggle.
Oh, that's not
It's kind of
space.
nice and tranquil though.
It's kind of nice though. Ooh, there
Ooh,
we
I like
go.
this.
Traveling
Ah,
through
sit
space.
back,
See,
guys.
this is what we need.
All
We
that
need to
shit,
go
leave it
and
behind.
leave this
We're
behind.
going. We're getting off Earth because on Palantalk, where do we go for the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes? We go to space.
Space, brother.
Go
We
to
go to
space.
space.
So welcome to somewhere beyond the atmosphere, where AI is a distant thought, where the universe stretches ahead of you, and I'm about to blow your mind, literally. Because if you want to think big picture, this is where it gets big picture. What does the universe look like? Not the galaxy, not the solar system, the universe. Well, it turns out we know what the universe looks like. But furthermore, we live in a very particular place in the universe. The universe consists of two types. I sent some images. So will you put the first one on the screen? The one that has the labels on
Where
it.
did you send all the images at?
Oh, they're in the document. But I
Oh, are
can,
they?
yes.
That's cool.
So you
There
have
we
two.
go.
Basically, the universe is like a cosmic web. Okay, but when you think about how the universe, the Big Bang, you see rapid expansion. Well, the misconception a lot of the times is that matter itself is not was uniform at the time, right? So you would expect the universe to expand at a constant rate. What we've learned is that that's not the case. And if you have matter in different, amounts, matter reacts as gravity does, right? So if you have enough matter, gravity is going to act on it. It's going to come together. That you have points within the galaxy where you have large amounts of matter, where there was a more concentrated place, and these are these galaxy clusters. So what am I talking about? So there's two structures that really make this up. You have, there we go, perfect. So this is an example here, and it's voids and filaments. So what you have, which is unique, is that the Earth, our solar system, the Milky Way galaxy, is within a void, which means that we are not part of a galaxy cluster. When you have a void, you have these filaments, which you can see on the screen. So those are all the things that connect. But these locations where you had less matter as the universe expanded, they started to form these voids where you have stronger pressure from the dark energy that causes expansion, which is pushing out actively against the force of gravity, which means that it's going to constantly expand. It pushes the filament back more and more and more and more. We happen to be in a void. So we've struggled. You have, these two ideas, and you have something called the Hubble tension, which is you have people trying to figure out why the expansion of the universe, when you measure it from redshift versus when you measure it from cosmic background radiation, it's different. It differs, and it shouldn't, because obviously it should be the same, unless we happen to be in a void where gravity becomes less and less relevant. The less matter you have, gravity itself ceases to be even relevant at all. So galaxies tend to be on these cosmic highways or these filaments. What you see on there are galaxy clusters, right? So if you imagine the galaxy, and that's not to say that things aren't in the voids. It just means that the voids themselves, there's not enough gravity to stop effectively the filaments around it from being pushed away. There's not enough matter, not enough mass, whereas the cosmic voids are the opposite. So what's unique about Earth is that we're in a fucking void, which means that we're constantly getting farther and farther away, which means that light traveling across a void could in fact travel differently, because gravity does act on light. We know this because of black holes. We live in something called the KBC void. And it's about it's got 20% less matter than the cosmic average. So we are matter light. That's not to say that we don't have a galaxy cluster around us. We do. So like the Andromeda galaxy is relatively close, but there's so little matter that, like I was saying, the dark energy just pushes it away, which is interesting because if you think about it, it means that eventually, like right now, we will never see anything on the outside of this void unless we have some crazy string theory development and figure out how to make like literal wormholes. There's no form of travel that's going to get you out of a void. So we're going to be limited to our galaxy group, which is still massive. Like, I just want to clarify, we're talking about the universe. We're not talking about like a galaxy. Like there's no way we even get across our galaxy. Like when we talk about scale, like this is so we are so irrelevant. We are so wildly irrelevant. But I think it's so fascinating that we know this shit.
So like think about this too. Like think about it and simplify it down for those of you who have watched Star Wars or Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
This would be like the Alpha Quadrant, the Delta Quadrant, and the different quadrants that are still within our galaxy clusters. Like they hadn't even left the Milky Way in Star Trek. Like they were still in our galaxy. Like, and they had broken it into 4 quadrants that they didn't even think they could get into some of them because it was so far away. So like, yeah, I mean, we've only thought on a small scale of could we get through the entirety of our galaxy at some point, but then going to another galaxy is an even bigger step. Like we have other things that show that type of future technology, like Mass Effect and games like that, where we do go to different galaxy clusters. But this is bigger than anything that Star Trek thought we could ever see or imagine. This is like hitting that time wall where Q brought them into like the edge of the universe, and it was like this weird like milky substance that they were just floating through, and like they couldn't go any further. That could possibly be like the wall or a wall around, say, a dense galaxy wall, and the filaments going around so fast that light is creating this whirlpool that prevents you from getting out of your black hole cluster or your giant black hole that you're inside of. This is basically, to me, this almost is another envisionment of string theory or the multiverse into black hole clusters, where each galaxy cluster is basically a black hole, or inside its own black hole, and that filament of dense galaxy walls is just the edge of the black hole that you're seeing.
Yeah. Also, like, consider the environment, like how different it is, right? Like and this is one of the big things that comes out, is like if we're studying the galaxy from within a void, okay, if we're studying everything from within a void where there's 20% less matter, what does that mean for our entire understanding of everything? Because what's interesting is that our specific position is an absolute anomaly. These voids are like, we don't understand them. Like they constantly are growing. And the idea of the voids, if you think about it, is if they keep growing at an exponential rate, right? The less matter, the less dense that space is. Eventually, the whole the universe is just going to spread out, and you're going to have tiny little clusters. But what I always thought, what sparked my mind that I'm looking at this is, I wonder what the environment is like in the actual, like on the filaments, in these real clusters. Like, what does that look like? Where you have an entirely different, perspective, right? Because you're looking at an area. If we're in a portion of the galaxy where, our trying to type here, where our perspective is, totally different. Also, what would
Very limited on the inside.
Travel? Like, could you, if we were on a filament, like, would it be easier, like, to travel?
Probably.
Between, like, maybe you could leverage gravity differently, because I'm certain that gravity, like, as a law, right? We assume it's the same, but I don't know. I just thought I just wanted to share this with you guys because I watched like a 2.5 hour documentary on this, and it is so crazy. And the idea is you have this Great Wall, and there's another picture. I think this is even better. Um, I mean, like it's crazy.
Well, think about it too is like they've mapped out what they possibly the universe could look like, and it looks like neural pathways in a brain.
Totally.
Like that's literally how the universe has started to spread out. It looks like a brain structure is growing. Um, and that's not a unique pattern. Like it's not unique to our brain to grow that way. Our brain just grows in a very similar way to, or has evolved in a very similar pattern to the universe itself. Make that a happy note for you is your brain mimics the model of the universe.
Yeah.
Think of yourself special that way. If you didn't think you were special today, your brain is modeled after the universe and the structure of the universe. So you are special. We also did get a question in the chat from one of our close friends, Courtney, is can we just consider doing a whole show dedicated to space talk? Like just space talk and just nerd talk? Absolutely.
I would fucking love that.
Yes. We can definitely do that. I bet we could get Ogre in on that conversation. And Fred Pogue reached out again to me, and we haven't seen Fred in a while. He's been busy on a shitload of stuff, but Fred reached out, and we're going to get him back on some Banner and Backbone things, and doing some lives with him. And he's a huge super nerd, so I think we could have some space and nerd talk and just have some fun. So hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and bring us back to warp speed though.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this. I feel,
this is calming.
Where Walter would thrive with his Superman.
Yeah, he'd be floating through space. Rocket Man playing in the background.
Yes.
Just Rocket Man.
Dude, I don't know, man. It's like one of the things I think is so unique about this too is when I think about the actual scale, and I think about scale, I think about like you have it's hard to conceive, but the larger that void grows, it's like you consider if we don't understand the cosmic energy, but like hypothetically, if you grow to a certain point where it gets so wide, it kind of seems to me like everything would just be so far apart.
It falls apart eventually.
Right? Like it would just fall apart because there's no matter itself is so dispersed that the forces of gravity would stop working, because we know that from like a lot of these laws, like the fundamental understanding of physics is there's a limit. Like, the example that was given is like, hypothetically, if a man or a woman or a person walks 10 feet, they could infinitely half the amount of distance they've walked. Now, it would be very hard to like really do that at a certain point, but hypothetically, you could. Whereas there's a point with physics where that breaks down, where you cannot do that, where the laws of the universe stop working. At what scale and what happens?
Well, we're still limiting our thought on that sometimes without like antimatter and dark matter. And I think we're still too early in our understanding of the fabric of the universe to even be like, well, is it falling apart or not falling apart? Do we even know? Like you said, if we're in a big hole and a void, do we even know if the universe is actually falling apart?
Dude, do we know anything? We're in a hole in a void.
Or is it that just we're in a different position in that void right now, so it looks like things are falling apart? And in a couple 100,000 years, or a couple hundred million years, when the Milky Way is on the other end of our black hole rotation, how different will everything look then? Like, will we have the same fundamental understanding? Will we be able to like see past the outer void at some point, or see that there is a wall or something like that? Um, or are there ways that we could pass through it? Um, and as long as we don't go down the event horizon path, like I'm cool with that. Like they did the event horizon did the easiest way to get through space isn't a straight line. It is folding 2 points and meeting them in one, um, which string theory would suggest is possible.
Because the string
Um,
is everywhere. So
yeah,
hypothetically, you just take the string and you
and
put it
you
together,
fold it.
hold it. Right.
However, in doing so, they ended up going into some like other parallel dimension or reality that was sort of like what we would envision hell to be. Um, and they came out all fucked up, like super messed up, like popping their eyeballs out and like screaming and killing each other. Like, I don't want that type of space travel. I want the like Star Wars and Star Trek, going through space in a warp bubble, having a good time, meeting Klingons, starting a war with them because it's just like starting a war all over with Russia, just in space Russians. Um,
Big
anyway,
questions.
that's what they were. They're
Interstellar
space Russians.
comrades.
Yep, basically they're space
This is
Russians.
my
Just
planet. We share resources here. You do not need
yes,
to
in
capitalize
Klingon
on them.
Empire, resources share you.
We have gone 100 million years by just doing what you call communism. Your problem is that you are stupid. You guys are selfish. Here, we solve the problem. We just lobotomize everybody. See? It works great. What?
Think, yeah, if Stargate SG-1 was a cool, like, that's a possibility, like, but that was still limited within the same universe cluster. That was all within the Milky Way. Like, all of this is always in the Milky Way. Like, we're barely imagining what it might be like to go to a different universe cluster. Like, one, by the way, Courtney, that's a great reference though, is Stargate SG-1. It's one of my favorite series of all time. Like, I am just I I hope that the next thing we find is a Stargate hidden under a mountain in Nevada and in the ice in Antarctica. I'm just waiting for a Gould mothership to drop down and land on one of the pyramids and unload and be like, yo, we left you with a decent ruler and you ended up with these fuckers. Like, can we kill you now? Can we re-enslave you? Are you ready to be under our control again? Because you gave us these assholes. You didn't even take our ghouls. You just like killed them. And then instead you made worse versions of yourselves. What are you doing? We gave you resources. You gave yourselves death. I want the ghouls to come back and like slap us on the side of the head and be like, you guys fucked up. Um,
I don't
because
know.
that's cool space travel too. Like Stargate SG-1, awesome style space travel. Like creating wormholes that are like relatively, like a relatively realistic idea of how you could connect endpoint to endpoint. Like it's portals, like portal future. That's what I want. I want portals like that. You have to have a portal on one end and a portal on the other.
The thing that always gets me, dude, is like the reality is that like no matter what we do, time is going to fuck everything up because it doesn't matter. It doesn't like even if you say string theory, boop, okay, cool. You're gonna cross back and be like, damn, this is sick, dude. They got like 3-headed elephants and like people are just like us. And you go back through and like Trump hit the nuclear button and you're like, fuck, like this
Damn
is,
it.
it's like, oh shit, like you don't know. But like at the same time, it's like you just don't like time itself is the limiting factor. Like we could do all of these things, but say you have a dependency on the portal to return. Say you step through the second you step through 100 million years has passed and you can't come back because the portal has already been fallen into disrepair. It's crazy. It's like that's the thing I can't reconcile. That's our limitation is time. Unless we figure out how to manipulate time, but then you run into a whole different slew of issues because then someone tries to go back and assassinate Hitler, and then you have the butterfly effect, right? So it's like
Yeah. We
everywhere,
could have a whole other conversation on that.
right?
Really, we should just have space talk where we just ramble about space and get away from things.
Yes.
Um,
I
because
love
I think
I,
people need that too.
I love space.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna
The
put a
space
show
talk.
together for Space Talk on Banner and Backbone with some of your favorites. Plus, we're gonna see if
We're gonna
Oprah
get
wants to.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it. I'm gonna,
That'd be an interesting. I want Bill Nye the Science Guy.
dude. Yes, we'll get Bill.
He was a hero growing up. Like, if you wanted to
Me too.
idolize a good, like, one of the only people that I like, my wife and I talked about it. There's a list of people that I would be really upset if like genuinely sad to hear if they were on the Epstein list. Was Mr. Rogers, um, Keanu Reeves, um, Steve Irwin, and Bob Ross, and like those were the four like main. Like, but if Bill Nye was on the list, that would be so sad.
I
Like,
would cry.
Bill is such an amazing human being in all that he's done and dedicated. So if someone wants to help us, we'll reach. Maybe if he's on Substack, we'll reach out to him.
Well,
If
we have
he's
to
not, we
contact the
will see.
Planetary Society because he's the president and the CEO. So if we go to the
Ooh.
Planetary Society and we say we're doing an educational podcast on Substack, and we like maybe we can get him, we'll figure it out.
That
But
would be
like,
so freaking
I
cool.
really,
Get
I think,
Bill fucking Nye on.
dude, that'd
God,
be
that
so
would be
sick.
so cool.
That'd be so sick.
Let's do it.
We
Let's
can
reach
have
for
him
the
on
stars.
for an episode where we advocate for funding NASA because he's already done it. That might be the angle because they're trying to defund NASA. So maybe
And universal education, because that leads to scientists being able to be educated in our country to create the next generation of NASA astronauts and NASA engineers and NASA jet propulsion laboratory scientists who make the future of space, because they're working on things like ion drives. People, they're working on ion drive technology at NASA. Like shit like that commercial entities cannot do. You have to be in the government. You have to work for the government. It's called basic fucking research. And Bill Nye would be the coolest person to talk to about basic research for things. Yeah, reach for the stars, because we're floating through them right now on this podcast, and people seem to like the idea of just a space and nerd talk about
if there's an
science and fun
audience,
stuff.
that's great. I really didn't think there would be an audience, which is why we forced it into our other show. But if there's an audience, 100%.
We'll just break this out into its own thing.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
We're doing it. We'll figure out some time in our schedules, in our busy schedules. We will figure this out for all of y'all. So
all right.
Love it. All right. We are at the top of the half-hour mark. Hour and a half mark, I guess.
Yes.
And let's bring us back to Palantalk. Landing back into Palantalk, where we are going to promote the shit out of ourselves, because we got to sell ourselves a little bit and we need the support from everyone. So first, I'm going to start with, please come support Banner and Backbone. This is the network where everything is hosted on. I am a co-founder here, so yes, it is my network. I co-founded it with Lawrence Winterman, and originally with Fred Pogue as well. And Shane and I have been doing Palantalk since before Banner and Backbone, but we decided to bring it over here to build both of our platforms up. And so first, come subscribe to Banner and Backbone, free or paid. We love it. We appreciate it. If you're on Substack, hit that Chiron in the top left corner. You can subscribe to all of us all at once. So Banner and Backbone, Shane and me, those are free subs, but paid subs help too. But biggest thing, get the word out. Next, we have, with a new logo today, the Firebrand Project. Shane, sell yourself, my brother.
Well, you guys kind of know what I do, right? I mean, I just talked about my articles, this show, but my motto, right, under there is forging dialogue and burning bright. So the reality of everything is that we need to change the national dialogue. That's how things change, is by changing the national dialogue. I aim to do that through building the community of firebrands that we have. Because each and every firebrand, you guys go out into the world after every episode, after every Palantalk, and you talk about it. And that's what being a firebrand is. It's not Shane's Substack, it's the Firebrand Project, because I only aim to be the catalyst for information to get you guys there. That's all I want, and it's not just about me. I'm just trying to be the source of your information. As the project has grown, my role has grown. What I has changed. You can go back and read a lot of my writings in the beginning. I do describe myself still as a polemic essayist, but what I tend to do more now is a lot of the deep research that you see, trying to understand the systemic corruption, and put what's happening in context. I'd say that's my primary focus, is to provide context on a daily basis. So the way I do that is through basically a couple things. Mainly through my Firebrand report, which happens Monday through Friday. And it's a daily show, 2 p.m. EST, or 5 p.m. EST, 2 p.m. PST. You can come and I basically hit the headlines. I pull 3 things that I think are important, and I tell you the news, but then I also put it in context. It's a great show for you to come, and it just kind of helps us all, put the dots together. And that's, as the firebrands, and you guys take those dots we put together, you go and you change the dialogue. The other thing I do is I have Firebrands United, which is where I bring different creators over to the Firebrand Project, and we talk about various things. I have Dean Blundell coming on tomorrow. I'm so excited.
That's awesome, man.
So it's going to be super exciting. Make sure you guys come for that. And other than that, I mean, you guys can support me by all the normal ways. You can be a free subscriber, like, comment, restack. I'm experiencing major algorithmic suppression, like super. So it pretty much, I get like no views on Substack organically. So the best way you can help me out is by actively helping share my content. If you want people to see it, you agree, you need to restack it, you need to text it to somebody, you need to forward the email. Unfortunately, but fortunately, firebrands are awesome, and you guys do that anyway. So the content gets out there. So we are growing.
What time tomorrow?
It's going to be at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Which time zone?
PST, 10 a.m. PST.
Okay, so noon Eastern. No, 1 Eastern.
1 Eastern,
sorry.
Correct.
1 Eastern.
Mm-hmm. And then, so basically by doing that, I get a lot of, you guys are going to help me get more people. We're growing in spite of it, which means that firebrands are driving growth, which is incredible that you guys are doing that. So I really appreciate that. We're on the bestseller list. We've been on the bestseller list constantly, which is also another reason I'm pretty sure they're suppressing my content, because I don't understand. I should be seeing more surfacing. So you guys just help basically by being a paid subscriber. You guys help me keep going. The reality is you guys feed my dogs, you feed my cat, you help me buy groceries. That's the paid subscribers, and I really appreciate everything you guys do. So if you're in a position to do that, that's honestly the best way you can support me, so I can continue to do my research, because it is exceptionally time consuming, and I can't do that and do a part-time job. It's one or the other. So to keep doing this, I do need you guys' support. Other than that, go support Nick, because he's the other half of Palantalk, and he deserves just as much support as I do. He does great things. He advocates for, mental health. He advocates for chronic illness awareness. He is a poet. He is awesome. And go support Nick, because he is the guy building Banner and Backbone. It would not exist without Nick. I cannot even stress this enough. Banner and Backbone is Nick's brainchild. It was founded with Lawrence Winterman and Frederick Pogue, but there would be no Banner and Backbone without Nick. And so if you enjoy Banner and Backbone, if you love the network, you got to go support Nick too, because he's the heart. He's the beating heart of Banner and Backbone. So anyway.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
I appreciate that a lot. And to continue to sell myself a little bit, other than that, is do definitely go support Shane. I saw 2 people scan the QR code for Shane during the show. Love it. Love the support. And yeah, come support me at Sick of This Shit Publications. That's my That's my central home. Like Shane was saying, I do chronic illness discussions, which is now called chronically illing out or chilling out, um, for short. I'm doing other talks on masculinity and progressive dialogue, and I want to get some like a dad show sort of going on. But I want to bring a lot of it also into the Banner and Backbone community overall. And so, yeah, help me there. I'm on a fixed income, and you guys are helping unfix that income, and make it more so that my family can live. We've got medical bills we're still paying off. We have things that we're trying to do, and I'm trying to get new equipment too for all of my stuff. And if you like some of the new improvements to the show background, where we've got some text, video going on and making it a little more professional looking. I know people don't always care about it being like super professional, and like that's part of the fun of it is we're more laid back, but it is fun to have and good for the brand overall for us to build on these things.
Yeah.
And so I'm bringing it to both Sick of This Shit publications, um, which during the month of November, 50% off sale. So please come join me there as a paid sub. I really do appreciate it and need it, to help me grow, and to help me get back on the bestseller charts for a lot of things. I do a lot of lives, but I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. One of the biggest ones, again, is Banner and Backbone and all the connecting and networking. Like Shane said, he's started to focus his area in really a lot on investigative work and getting information out and keeping people informed on really complex topics in really concise and well thought out ways. Mine is connecting people. I connect people. Like that's what I do. I like connecting people. I like building systems that connect people in really good ways. Banner and Backbone is that system, and is going to be continuing to grow and see more, excitement and more growth. So please come support the network too. It needs the help as it grows. It lets us fund things like this, plus Melissa and Shane's show for the Rant Act. Additional shows, maybe like our space talk or nerd talks that we're going to try and have, things like that. Like those are all help by you guys. So smash that heart one last time. Hit the Chiron in the upper left corner if you're on Substack, and subscribe to everybody. Um, and join Shane and I again next week.
Every
We're
Monday,
here
same time.
every Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific time. We're here. We're here for an hour, hour and a half. And if we move Space Talk, maybe we'll just be here for an hour. And thank you to whoever just scanned the QR code that's at the top of this screen. That's for Feeding America,
Yes.
where you can help donate to the Banner and Backbone Feeding America initiative, part of the Substack scribe teams. Our goal is to get $20,000 in donations to Feeding America, which will feed 200,000 or create 200,000 meals for Americans in need. We're about halfway there. We're actually over halfway. The entire Substack scribe team is now over $10,000 donated by everyone. And some incredible folks in the audience who have donated. Thank you, everyone on the team and everyone in our community. And go support Feeding America too. Help us get to that 20,000 goal, so that we can try and get it to 40,000 or 100,000. Help feed Americans when the government refuses to. So thanks, everyone. This has been Palantalk, on Banner and Backbone. I'm Nick Paro. I'm joined by my good friend, Shane Yirak. And unlike Shane, I can get my hearts to fly. So let those hearts fly one last time on Substack. And we'll see you all again next week on Monday with special guest Marlon Weems.
That's cool.
And so we're going to have a great time Monday. See y'all again. This is Banner and Backbone, and we're